Alright guys, this is going to be my review of the Syma X11. I picked this up from gearbest.com, I think with a coupon code, and it was on sale. I paid about $23 for it shipped, which I thought was a pretty good deal. One of the unique features that drew me to this quad is the fact that it's a micro with gear-driven props. So let's see if we get this to focus here. And you can see the gears between the motor and the prop shaft itself. That allows them to give it a more aggressive prop and still run a smaller motor. So I got my Hubsan X4 here just to give you a comparison. You know, the quad is the same size. You can just see how much more aggressive the prop is on the Syma X11. And you can see the Hubsan has the larger motors in it. With the Syma, they're inside the motor pods, but the motors are much smaller. You know, these are the same size motors that they would probably put in the Hubsan X4 without the camera in it. So I thought that was kind of unique, kind of a cool feature. It actually makes it a really quiet quad too. Now this comes in two forms, the X11 and the X11C. Now this is your standard X11. This does not have the camera in it. The X11C has a camera built into it, and that one retails for about $40 on gearbest.com. And you can see there's really no difference between the C and the standard X11 as far as the body goes. You know, they use the same body where you'd have, you know, your SD card slot. You have your your hole for your button for the camera module, and then on the front they just kind of put this plug in here where the lens would stick out. So there's really no difference in them other than the quad would have a camera in it, and I'll talk about a slight difference in the transmitter a little bit later on. So when you get the quad, you get your standard USB charger, and you get a spare set of props with it. And one thing I found interesting is you don't get a screwdriver, and these props require a screwdriver to change. There's these little Phillips head screws inside the prop there, so it's kind of weird that they didn't supply a screwdriver, because you actually, on top of that, you also need a screwdriver to take the battery cover off the transmitter. I thought that was a little strange, but not a big deal anyways. I have small screwdrivers that came with other quads and stuff, so not a big deal. The transmitter is, you know, it's a rather large transmitter as far as, you know, these borderline toy hobby grade quadcopters go. I'm a thumb flyer, so these big thumb pads actually work pretty well for me. If you're a pincher, I'm not sure. I've never flown as a pincher, but it doesn't feel like it would be a big deal. You have your left and right trims here, your forward and back trims, and then your yaw trim right here. If this was a X11C, you would have your camera controls on these buttons here. And I found it interesting that these buttons were solid. There's no click to these top and bottom buttons. And I took the transmitter apart, and sure enough, there's not even any switches under these two buttons. So they actually did make a different board for the X11C. So unfortunately, you can't just buy a camera, you know, fit it to the quad, and then have your transmitter operate the camera. A little disappointing, but not a big deal. You know, at $40 retail, it's not a huge investment to get an X11C anyways. You have two shoulder buttons here. Your left shoulder button is for your rates, and, you know, 2 beeps is high rates, 1 beep is low rates. And between the 2 rates, you only have 1 yaw rate, and it's pretty slow. Slow enough that I find it difficult to fly the quad indoors. It's decent for outdoors. You know, it's definitely more of an outdoor flyer than an indoor flyer. But I just kind of wish the rates would speed up a little bit, at least in high rates. I wish the yaw rate would increase, but it is what it is. And then your right shoulder button is your flip button. And what's unique about that is you have to push and hold the button down and then do your flip. So you push, flip. You can't just push it and flip, it won't do anything. But it's kind of cool because you can just flip, 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 and it just flips over and over again, and it flips really well. You know, the recovery is a little funky, but it does recover fast and it recovers well. One thing I should mention while we're on the transmitter is how to calibrate the accelerometers. So we have the transmitter bound to the quad, and what you would do is just take both sticks and go down right. And once the quad flashes, your accelerometers are reset. There's really not a whole lot more to say about the quad itself than I already covered. I covered a few of the unique features already. But, you know, first thing that you notice is it's very, very light. I'm not sure how much it actually weighs, but it is extremely light. It's got 6 LEDs in it. It's got 2 up here in the eyes, and then it's got 4 down inside the arms. And it's kind of neat that they used like a smoked clear plastic here for the arms, and you can see there's the tip of the LED right there. So the LEDs stick right off the board and light the whole arm up. So it makes it a really good night flyer. It's real easy to keep your orientation, you know, because the whole arm and a little bit of the motor pod lights up. And you have red lights in the rear, blue lights in the front, and blue lights in the eyes. Your battery slides right here into the back. And the battery itself is a 200 milliamp hour battery. And surprisingly, for the size of the battery, you get relatively long flight times. I was getting anywhere from 6.5 minutes with the prop guard on to over 7 minutes with the prop guard off indoors. My flight times outdoors were a little shorter, you know, roughly around 6.5 minutes, only because I find, you know, if you're flying outside, you're usually flying a little bit more aggressive because you have a little more room to move around. You know, you're really pitching in a lot more. Where inside, you have the ceiling to contend with, the walls to contend with. So, you know, I find you can almost get an extra minute out of it inside than outside. The battery itself takes about 35 minutes to charge, so it's not a big deal there. And there is a low voltage warning, you know, once the quad gets down to low voltage, but it's kind of useless because once the lights start flashing to tell you that the voltage is low, it's coming down. So you really have to pay attention to your time, and once you hit about the 6-minute mark, if you're outdoors, you know, it's a good idea to get the quad closer to you, because once that battery runs down and once you get that low voltage warning, it's landing regardless where it is. So that's about all I have to say about the quad. Actually, I have one more thing. The prop guard. So here's the prop guard that they supply with the quad, and it's a really neat design. You have these 3 pegs on each of the motor pods, and you don't have to take the props off to put the guard on. So you'd simply just stretch the guard up over the props here. Get myself all tangled up in this motor. What's going on? There we go. And then, let's see if we can show this. The guard just simply snaps into these 3 slots, just like that. And you just work your way around the quad. And that's that, your prop guard's on. And I found that I'm probably just going to keep the prop guard on, because your flight times aren't really affected. You know, your flips, it might take a little longer to recover from a flip with the prop guard on, but you know, all in all, it doesn't fly bad with the prop guard on it. And I find that these thin little sections right here in between the pegs, I feel like I'm flexing them a lot when I'm taking the prop guard off, and I just feel like one of these times it's going to break. So I think I'm just going to leave it on from now on and just fly it that way, because it really doesn't affect the flight all that much. But other than that, let's get it up in the air here in the kitchen, and maybe we'll do a little bit outdoor flying too. It's a little chilly out, but maybe we'll do a little bit outdoor flying as well and kind of show off the LEDs in the arms. Alright, we'll do a quick indoor flight with the Syma X11. We'll start it off in low rates. And the first thing I was impressed about is how well this thing hovers. I mean, it just hovers so nice. You know, you can just Once you get it in a hover, you can just take your hand off the transmitter, and it just hovers so nice. But like I just said, the yaw rate is relatively slow, which I'm a little bit disappointed about. I mean, low rates it would be okay, I guess, but switching to high rates, the yaw doesn't get any faster, and that's a problem. You know, it really kills its indoor flight characteristics. We'll switch it back into low rates. Flips, we'll do a few flips here. You know, it doesn't recover too bad, even with a prop guard on it. You know, I'd be interested to see, I might have to pick up the X11C, because I think the added weight of the camera would definitely affect how well this thing recovers from its flips. You know, it's a little funky when it finishes flipping, but I mean, the recovery's not bad. And we'll switch it into high rates just to show you, you know, how fast this thing can move. And it's got some pitch to it in high rates. You can really pick up some speed. But you can tell that, you know, you really can't get a funnel, little prop guard test. You really can't get a funnel or anything going because it's just too slow of a yaw. I'll put it back in the low rates here and fly it around some more. But I mean, for the most part, this is a good flying quad. It's super stable. You know, I think it would be a lot better suited as the X11C because it does have nice slow movements. You can really get a good hover out of it. So with a camera on this, you know, it'd be really nice. I think it would shoot real good footage. I mean, look at that hover. So I think I will pick up the X11C, and if nothing else, just to compare and contrast, you know, how it flies with and without the camera, because other than the button change in the transmitter and the camera module itself, there is no difference between the two. You know, the body's the same, the motors are the same, the props are the same. So it'd be interesting to see how this platform performs with the camera on it. I think what we'll do now is we'll run outside quick. It's a little chilly out, but we'll do a quick outdoor flight. The sun's going down, and we'll check out those LEDs. So we'll bring this thing in for a landing, and we'll bring it outside. All right, we're outside with the Syma X11 now. It's a little darker than I anticipated, but we'll get it up and try it out. So you can see, I hope, right away that the you know, the LEDs in the arms are really, really nice for orientation. You know, I mean, from the side it gets a little tough, and when it's coming towards you it gets tough because all you have is the eyes. But I mean, when you're under it, there's no question what's the front and what's the back. And like I said, I mean, it just, in low rates, it's just so smooth. You know, not like the Hubsan X4. You know, is real. I find the Hubsan X4 to be real twitchy. So I think I am going to buy the X11C because I think this thing would be, you know, a fun little aerial footage quad. Let's put it in high rates and have some fun here. It's not lightning fast, but it's a pretty quick little quad. Up, here we go. Here's the LVC, and it landed. So as you can see, that's about all you get for the low voltage warning. So I guess that's all the fun we're having for now. But I appreciate you watching this review, and if it was helpful to you, please give it a thumbs up, please subscribe, and thank you again for watching.